Hello, everybody. This is Vivian Xavier again, and I'm back for another edition of Gandhara Independent Film Festival 2020. And I'm going to be having a panel discussion with Tehmina Lodhi. She's currently the head of department for the media sciences department at Ziauddin University, and she was previously the HOD for ICRA. But she's also been in the media fraternity in Pakistan for a number of years. And today we're going to be talking to her from the point of view of an educator. She's been an educator for the media sciences for many, many years. So she's going to be giving us some insight about the students that are in the programs and what are the challenges when they actually graduate and come into the industry. So it's a pleasure to talk to her today, and let's begin the conversation. Hey, Tehmina.
Hi, Vivian. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing? Thank you for being here and taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure. And when you were giving your introduction and you were saying many, many years, it made me sound so old.
Well, I mean, many years you could have started early, but
yeah.
No, that was absolutely not what I meant. But you do have a lot of experience, so it's good to get your insight about what's happening, especially from an educator's point of view, and looking at the students that are coming out of film and media programs in Pakistan.
Right.
So I know that you've been involved in the media industry for a number of years, and then you switched to becoming an educator. So how is that? What was your journey, and how is that learning curve been for you? What's been the biggest learning curve in that respect?
Right. So yeah, Vivian, I started off very early. Like I said, I started off straight after I graduated, and I started working with advertising agencies in the creative department. But at the time when I started working, I didn't have the technical skills like software skills, because what we were taught was traditionally manually, and I take great pride in that, because I think a lot of my precision is based on doing things more manually than how they are done now. Not that it is not correct now or it's easier now, but I think that at that time manual work was considered more more precise, or that was the way at that time. So I started my journey with advertising agencies, and then kind of went into freelance work. And when I did freelance, I was doing various different projects for different organizations, mostly based around graphic design, interiors. So I wasn't like limited just to like advertising. I was doing various things in I've done work in fashion, I've done work in interiors, and I think that was kind of, I was exploring at that time. And then I was always interested in education, because I think that is something very close to my heart. And I was like, I was thinking, what should I do? Which field should I go into? And then very spontaneously, I think, I got this offer, and I landed myself at ICRA University. And I was just thinking, let me just do this for a while. And I started off like that. And I stayed there for 11 years. So yeah, that was something. And I think I really enjoyed my time in education. And the thing was that I didn't stop going back to the field. I kept on working in the field. So there were projects that I was still doing while I was also in the university, because you have to keep very current, even if you're in education, because you're kind of bringing back what's happening in the industry into the curriculum. And that was really important for me. So I kept on working with the industry and did various projects with like TV channels as a production designer. I was very interested in production. And then even today, I'm now with Ziauddin University, and I keep working in the industry. And I'm also a painter, so I paint as well. So everything that comes under the umbrella of creativity, I think I've kind of explored that. But yes, education is very, very close to me. I feel that is something that I don't want to let go of right now. And I think I've spent a good deal of like a decade and a half in media education. So yeah, that's been my journey really.
Wow, that is quite a journey, and I'm sure that all the things you've been doing on the side have added to your knowledge and what you can give back to the students as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, you said, what's your learning curve been? So like my learning curve literally has been not to stop learning, Yeah, it's not to stop learning, because I don't think anybody ever stops learning. So I just kept on kind of not upgrading myself. I wouldn't say that. I just acquiring more knowledge. And that is something that I love to do. Knowledge is something that's really, really important to me. And even now I'm again studying now. I'm becoming a therapist as well. So I'm working in mental health. So that's something that I'm doing on the side as well, alongside of education and media. So my learning curve has been not to stop learning. Yeah, literally.
And you said that you've been involved in education for a decade and a half. So since you started up now, what is you witnessed as being the biggest challenges or the changes in the education field? Because I know that with around that time you had the proliferation of a lot of TV channels, or maybe it was just a little before that, but you had a lot of TV channels coming in. You had a lot more access to information coming into Pakistan. So how have things changed since you first started to now? What have you witnessed as being like the biggest changes or the significant ones?
Right. So if you're talking in terms of education and media, so I'll be very precise. I joined education and media in 2006. So you can just calculate back how many years ago that was, right? In 2006, media education was not considered like a formal education, especially in this part of the world where, your traditional education is either you want to become a doctor or an engineer, or, these are the two main kind of professions that students take their careers into. So when I came into media education, media was not really considered an education. It was maybe something like, okay, so if I can't become a doctor or I'm not good at becoming an engineer, let's just try media. That was the mindset of most of the students that joined my program at that time, not realizing that media education is really, I think, one of the toughest educations, because it has such a huge practical component. 80% of our curriculum is practical, hands-on learning. And I think that's really, really tough. So a lot of students kind of were surprised that, we were going to think that, we're going to take a bunch of photographs and do some nice editing. A lot of the students joined thinking they're going to become actors and actresses. I mean, they weren't even clear what media education was. So I think from that time to this time, I think there's a lot more awareness, a lot more awareness. But it's taken many, many years. And it's taken many years of kind of counseling students, and also not just counseling students, counseling parents. Because when in Pakistan, when a child, after their intermediate or let's say A levels wants to do higher education, it's mostly the parents who kind of decide for the child what they should do, And students who want to come into media education have the biggest struggle with their parents, trying to convince them that, we want to do media education, and they're not very happy about that. I think it was a lot of counseling with the parents, with the students themselves, trying to make them understand that media education is serious business. And yeah, there are lots of jobs for students once they graduate. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges for me. And the other challenge, I would say, was finding the right people to teach because when it comes to media education, you might find somebody who's very technically good, or knows what he has to do or she has to do, but doesn't have the right academic qualification. So I'm sure you're aware that when you come to university teaching, you have certain criteria that you need to meet with, certain academic criteria. And that was a huge challenge for me, because at the time we were offering specializations in animation, in advertising, in film and TV. And just for me to get somebody who's maybe even just good at color grading with a master's degree was really difficult. Really difficult. I mean, he would probably have a master's in something else, like an MBA or something, but he wouldn't have it in the field of what he's teaching, or of what I want to call him in for teaching. So I think that was my huge struggle at that time. But that trend has also changed, because a lot of students have now studied the program. They've gone on to do their bachelor's. They're also enrolled in their PhDs. So I think the whole fraternity of teachers, media education teachers, has grown, and that has given a lot of opportunities to people to come back and teach in university. So many of my students are now teaching, and it's really nice to see that, because I taught them maybe like 12 years ago, and now they're with me working in the university. So I think that's a great achievement for myself, I would say.
And early on, what do you think? Like, you said that the hurdles of just finding teachers was immense. Is it just the matter of time that has helped in tackling these hurdles, or back then did you have any other sort of, I wouldn't say strategy, but was there something that you leaned on heavily to, maybe to fill those roles or to tackle those problems?
Right. So I wouldn't say I had a strategy. It's just, I think time has played its role. With time, there's so much more awareness. I mean, things have moved so quickly. I mean, we have access to so much. So I think a lot of awareness came about. A lot of people, a lot of students who joined the media program, some of them realized, okay, they want to go back and join the industry. Some of them realized that they are interested in education. Like myself, because I never planned to get into education, but it was something that I enjoyed. So there are people who study media, but they want to come back to education. So I think that was one thing. And when you talk about like challenges, I think one of the biggest challenges I faced in university was just building the right infrastructure for media studies. Because this is a very different program. I'm sure you're aware that you need the kind of equipment, the labs, the studios, and these were the kind of challenges in making the university understand how important these things are for the studies to continue. And media studies is an expensive program all over the world, and so it is here as well. So I think initially the universities kind of struggled, because media department is always like the smallest department in the university, but it's an expensive department in terms of the infrastructure and the equipment that you need to keep buying, and the updates that you need in the technology. So I think that was a real challenge for me, but I think I was persistent, consistent with my management, and I made them understand. And so they did develop good studios and infrastructure for media studies, which is very, very relevant.
It's when I was teaching at a university, one of the things I did notice, and you rightly pointed out, that the lack of equipment does become a hindrance for for students or even to educators, because there's certain things where you need to, like you rightly said, just show them how those things work. You can, there's a certain point you can tell people about how things work, but you need to show them, because once they go into the industry, they need to have that knowledge. Is there a severe lack of equipment in at universities in Pakistan? for the media sciences department, especially?
Okay, so I wouldn't say there's a serious lack. I would definitely want an improvement, but you have to understand that universities are obviously investing in all this and they do want to pay back, right? So
Yeah.
this equipment is expensive. It's not cheap, right?
Mm.
So yeah, they are not, I wouldn't say the best equipped, but I would not also say that they are not equipped, because you have to have like a certain minimum amount of equipment to teach the students.
Yeah.
So I think universities are doing pretty okay now in terms of buying equipment and building the infrastructure. I think they are investing because they don't have a choice. And also students, I mean, they need that. So some students can maybe afford to buy, expensive cameras and, do their own work. But a lot of students do rely on the university, and we make sure that we have adequate enough equipment that we can, let the students borrow to complete their assignments.
And in the decade and a half that you've been teaching, where have you seen the best sort of stories coming out from? Because at the end of the day, that's really what matters. I mean, we could talk about equipment, we could talk about the lack of it, or we could talk about the opportunities that students are getting at the universities. But where do you think the best stories are coming from?
Okay, so when you talk about stories, are you talking about films that students are making?
Yep, the films.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm not going to be biased. I'm not going to say it's from where I've worked. But honestly speaking, I think, Vivian, I think the students in Pakistan are really, really talented. It's just about giving them a platform. So I'm not going to say that ICRA students were better than Ziauddin students or Karachi University. But I think every student is creative, provided he's given the right kind of mentoring and guidance, right? Because we're such a rich culture. We have so many stories to tell. And I think that our youth is really pumped up. So I really feel that it's not about the place. It's about how the student is kind of channelized throughout the 4 years. And this I've seen at ICRA. I've seen it at Ziauddin. I've been a panelist for like many film festivals for different universities like Karachi University, Hamdard University. So I've seen all these movies coming out of these places, and I'm amazed every time. I'm amazed, and personally, I know that a lot of my students that I've taught over the years, they've gone on to like submit their films in international festivals and like won awards in USA, in India. So, I really feel there's such a huge pool of talent that exists. It just needs to be channelized properly.
So if there are talented filmmakers who are making these short films that are gaining recognition, do you think there isn't a bridge for them once they sort of graduate to come into the real world and then be able to make those movies or tell those stories?
Right. So, when students graduate, I mean, obviously, just like anybody, I mean, as soon as you graduate, you want to go out there and make your movie. That doesn't happen. That really doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Filmmakers struggle all over the world. Even if you're a fantastic filmmaker, you gotta, find that break. So you need somebody to trust you, because obviously film is big business. It's not a small business, right? It involves like millions of dollars or millions of rupees. So I think in Pakistan, when students graduate, one, I think there isn't enough people investing in them, because you can't make you can make an independent film, but that's not really how the business works. So if you want to make money from films, then obviously you need a good sponsor or a producer who's going to take you on. And I think that's where the students are struggling with, to finding the right person to connect with. Because right now, how the industry is in Pakistan is like, okay, these are the people who are making the movies and that's it. So it's slightly challenging for new students and newcomers to like kind of get on that platform. And we really try hard with the students during the 4 years that they study with us, that try to connect them with the right people. And we do that through various platforms that we give them, like we have festivals and we have little competitions where we invite industry experts from the industry to come in and look at the work of students, and that's really worked well at times. But I feel that we need more support from the industry. The industry needs to support the students, because I think the talent is there. I think it comes down to finances. So that's my personal view, that I feel that if they're given that kind of support, I really feel that there is no limit to what they can do.
And do you think it's just strictly financial support, or within the industry, do you think there should be some sort of like a mentorship program or some sort of bridge for these students to understand how the industry works and then sort of find their way or carve their way in the industry as well?
Yeah, I wouldn't just say it's finance. Of course, there should be a mentorship program, and that's when I say that when I talk about support, it means trust the student as well. Because it's a small fraternity of people, and it's not easy to penetrate that fraternity. I think at times, I don't know, somebody might mind this, but so I feel that sometimes when talented students come about, some people can get kind of insecure. I would say that they feel insecure that, okay, now this new pool of talent is coming, and they're coming with these new ideas and these fantastic new ways of making things. So I think that kind of might make people insecure in the industry. So the circle is really tightly knit. So unless you know somebody in that circle, it's easier to get in. But just going on your own merit, I think it's difficult.
It's very difficult. I agree with you. It's I mean, that's generally the case in anywhere else as well, but Pakistan, because it's such a small sort of I mean, yes, it's tight knit, but in terms of the film fraternity, but it's also there aren't that many jobs to be had, and they keep going to the same people, so it becomes difficult for newcomers to break in and make their mark, even if they're talented. But there are good people who are coming out. I know that Ali Sohail was a student at ICRA, and he's doing amazing things.
Yeah, Ali was my student, and I'm really proud of him. Yeah, really proud of him. He's done some fantastic work. Yeah,
exactly. The other thing that I really wanted to talk about was the number of students. I've seen, in quite a few of the programs, we have a lot of students who are just generally studying, under the umbrella of media sciences. Do you think that hampers the quote unquote just the film sort of film production students? Because you have a lot more students who are studying in the overall banner. So you'll have the advertising students, you'll have the journalism students, and they'll all be studying together, and then they can branch off whenever. But the sheer number of students studying that, does that hamper things as well? Have you felt like that that becomes a hindrance in some places, or does it add value to the overall sort of experience?
I think both. I think that how it adds value, I'll talk about how it benefits, is that because initially when students join the program, they come in collectively, right? Whether they're an advertising student or a film journalism or animation students, and they do like a set number of courses together, and then they branch out in their specializations. And I'd like to give this example, like, so, if somebody's making a film and they need some digital compositing work, obviously they're going to contact somebody who's doing animation, right? And let's say they want to advertise their film, they're going to contact somebody who's doing advertising. So I think that really works well. And now I've seen, like, when students have graduated, my students have graduated, so many of them have like pooled up together and grouped up together. So they're doing the marketing, they're doing like the technical part, and one is doing like the creative part. So I think the networking that happens in university with your peers is really beneficial later on. I think that's one of the real good benefits of kind of studying together. As far as numbers are concerned, I've always like been an advocate for keep the numbers small in class, keep the numbers small in class, especially for technical courses. Like if you're teaching like camera and lighting techniques, I mean, don't let the class be like 40 students. How is the teacher even going to, get a one-to-one with any student? So for technical classes, for classes that require like personal, one-on-one facilitation, I always said keep your classes small. Of course, if it's a theory class and you're teaching something like brand management, go ahead, keep it like a class of 40 or 50. Yeah, that becomes a challenge when you're teaching in class. So I would really say that now that I'm at Ziauddin University, we have smaller number of students, and that really, really works well, because you have a class of 10 or 12 students and you can give like one-on-one attention. And I think that's a really good model. And that's how everybody should be operating. But obviously you have to keep, the costs in mind and teachers in mind, a lot of things that go into university management, as to say, yeah.
And do you think that, again, this is, this is a little off topic, but do you think that in Pakistan at some point we'll be able to have a film school, which is just a film school, and then branch out from there, where you have other departments, just like they have in the West or in Europe or whatever? Is that something that you see happening? And can that even happen to can that even be sustainable in a country like Pakistan?
Why not, Vivian? I think we're a nation that really adapts quickly. We are very resilient as a nation. So I think that, of course, I mean, that would be my dream if there was an actual film school, just for film-focused students. Because right now, when students come into university, like you said, they're coming into like a media sciences program, and then they're taking their specialization courses. But if there was just like a film school with a recognized degree, because one of the mindset of students here is they want a degree. Okay, there are film schools here, but they're offering like diplomas, so that doesn't really fit in well with the students or their parents. So they want the degree. So unfortunately, up till now, we don't have an independent film school which is giving you a degree. Even the media sciences program over here in Pakistan is kind of monitored by HEC, which is the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. And they don't have a curriculum for film. We kind of fall under the mass communication program. So we kind of tailor our program around mass communication. What I'd really love is to have an independent film school that has a governing body, because that's really important in education, to have a governing body. And that kind of monitors, what kind of curriculum is being taught, and it should be to the standard of it should be an international standard. And I think that would really help students to kind of channelize and find the different specializations in film, right? Because when students of film come into a film program, they're kind of focused on becoming the director. I want to be the director of the film. And not realizing, of course, the director is the captain of the ship, not realizing there are so many other roles that are equally important, I would say, not just important, equally important, because you can't make a film without a producer. You can't make a film without, your editor, your cameraman, so sound guy. So I feel that students don't really focus on those little things, and then they want to become a director. But what I usually do with my students is like I kind of see where their expertise lies, right? Because when you were in education, you've been teaching for such a long time, you kind of know, okay, this guy or this girl, she's got this specific talent. And then you mentor that student, you talk to them, you tell them, that, okay, I feel that, you're very good at, let's say, production design, you're good at, making things look nice on screen. So why don't you just kind of gear yourself towards that, go into that, study that, because not everybody can be a director, not everybody has the holistic kind of managerial skills that a director needs. So I think that now students do realize that, and they kind of do pursue these little other specializations. But if there was let's say, a school of film, and they would have, like, okay, so if you want to become a director, this, if you want to go into sound, this. So I think that would really kind of give us so much, so many more graduates in that relevant kind of field, which would add to, the film group of people. Because when we go and make a film, like, we were looking for people like who's good with sound, who's good with camera, who's this, who's that, right? So when graduates would come out saying, okay, so I've done my degree in, let's say, sound design, we'd know, okay, these are the pool of people that you can hire for sound. So yeah, I think that I think a film school like that would do wonders in Pakistan. I really do feel that. Yeah.
I'm glad that you spoke about the specializations, because that's something that I've noticed as well. When I was teaching for a very brief period, the students had to, to graduate, their thesis had to be as directors. So even if they wanted to focus on something else, like, and again, the second to directing is always cinematography. No one wants to leave the camera for some reason. So, editing, production design, producing, even like you rightly said, sound design, gaffing, key grip, all of these roles that are so important to getting a film done are ignored. And I'm not sure whether it's something that the students see, once they graduate, because, like, they're all well aware of what's happening in the industry. But again, the visibility of those people, who are editing, who are the producers, who are doing production design, I'm not sure if that's even as much as the directors, the cinematographers. So the aspirational quality of students is always up to directors. So I don't know whether it's a catch-22 where they don't see themselves getting those jobs, or even know whether those jobs exist in the market, or whether it's a financial decision, for the future. Like, are those people even making any money? So that's something that I've always thought about, like, would people want to go and become gaffers or key grips when they know that there's not much of a future financially or even professionally?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I've always wondered, and I don't know whether you've had those conversations with the students. I certainly haven't, but is that something that you can possibly shed light on?
Yeah. So like, of course, everybody aspires to become a director. I mean, the students, at least, when they come into a film program, they think that they're going to graduate and they're going to become a director. But unfortunately, not everybody has that skill set. So, I wouldn't say you're stepping down when you choose another role.
No, obviously not.
Yeah, you're not stepping down. You're kind of knowing where your niche is, where your specialization is. And this is something that I definitely have a conversation with my students. Definitely. Because you're right, when they come to their thesis and they're supposed to do their film, they're like, okay, so we're the director. So I'm like, okay, where's the cameraman? Where's the sound? Where's the editing? So a lot of students will say, okay, no, but I'll do the sound. So I said, because I'm good at sound. So I said, so why do you want to be the director then? So he said, no, but I have to be the director because, that's my movie. So yeah, they do want to be the director, but yes, students are given the kind of knowledge that there are other roles. And when you talk about financial, yeah, I think that is one of the things, because how much does a gaffer really make in Pakistan? Let's be honest. So after doing a degree program, an expensive degree program, do you really want to go and get paid? That's something that you have put so much money into, and not get paid enough for that. So I'm thinking that, not that these roles are not important, but I think we need to kind of maybe raise the kind of bar of salary scales for these people, um, so that they are recognized for what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't work without a gaffer. You can't work
Yeah.
without like a spot boy. You can't. Also, like when I show my students movies, I tell them, look, the movie's done. Now sit and watch all the credits. Watch
Yeah.
them, read the names, because all these people are part of this movie. If there was one guy missing, maybe some part of the movie would not be right. So I think that's really important, and it's really valued now. I've seen that students do sit and read the credits. Media students, I would say, and that's because they want to know who did the makeup, who was part of the costume design. That's important. Why they're looking at that? Because maybe in the future that's what they aspire to do. But yeah, the cliched director role is obviously something that students are very fascinated by. But I think that kind of glamour dies down very quickly when you step into the market and you actually realize what the situation is like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's it doesn't matter who's on set. You're working just as hard as the director. You're working, you're doing the same number of hours, if not more. So, that glamour factor, obviously it does die down very quickly. But the good thing is that the spirit of camaraderie sort of grows. I felt, once you're on set, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's the gaffer or the key grip. It's the director or the producers are all in it. They quickly realize that they're all in it together. But shifting a little bit to the curriculum, and I don't know what the general curriculum is at Ziauddin, or whether it's a standard, because you're saying that HEC is obviously the governing body that sort of overlooks everything, and it's under the umbrella of mass communication. So is there a network that it exists within the film or the media sciences department of all the universities in Pakistan? Something, say, like in Europe, where you have select, or sort of like a body that is looking to push forward, the curriculum, and to make it better or improve it as changes come about in the wider industry?
No, Vivian, no, not in Pakistan, not this way. So what I can really honestly say is the kind of curriculum that we have here is based on, let's say, what I think should go into film, And because I've been there for such a long time, I'm also on the board of many other universities when they come to designing their program. And I would say it's kind of unfortunate that we're kind of copying each other. So if I've gotten a program and some other university wants to open up and offer the same program, they'll literally just take my program of the kind of courses that I'm offering, just kind of maybe change the names a little bit of the courses and offer the same things. I'm not saying that's a wrong thing. That's a way to start. But I think you need your own individuality somewhere. And I really feel that you need a very proper governing body. Because when I talk of HEC is just looking at how many credit hours are you completing, how many core courses there are, how many specialization courses there are. They're not going into the content of the courses. They're not, because they're not specialized enough to do that. So that kind of responsibility lies on people like us. So it relies on me, since I am the head of the department. So I'm going to finalize things and then take it to another governing body, which is like we have a board of studies, then we have a board of faculty, then we have an academic council. So, it becomes a very, very heavy responsibility on myself, I would say, and all the other heads of department, that whatever we are teaching the children, the students, is the right thing. And for that, personally, I think I do a lot of kind of research myself, try to keep myself updated. try to interact with industry professionals to see what is in and what is out. And I'm not just talking in terms of film, I'm talking in terms of the other kind of disciplines in media sciences like advertising and journalism and digital marketing that's come about now. So that's when I said I don't stop learning, is because I can't stop learning, because if I stop learning, then how am I going to make the changes in the curriculum? So that's a huge responsibility on education in Pakistan for film media studies, because we don't have a governing body that is looking into us. So if I choose the wrong thing, then I'm letting a student study the wrong thing for 4 years. So I think that's where my challenge lies personally, that I need to be updated. I need to know what's happening. I need to know if this course is even relevant in the industry after 4 years when he'll graduate. So we keep making these changes in the curriculum very, very often at Ziauddin University. Even at ICRA, we did that over a period of 11 years. I very frequently brought in new courses into the curriculum where I felt that, okay, this is what is required. Also, in terms of softwares, technology, everything needs to be updated. So it's a program that keeps on like churning and moving. It's not like an established program.
It has to keep evolving.
Yeah.
And you're talking about being aware of what's happening in the wider industry in Pakistan, or even globally. Have you managed to sort of create a network within the industry to sort of possibly to absorb the talent that's graduating every year, or possibly to come in and give in to share their experience or whatever? Is that some sort of is that something that happens pretty often? Has it been a good response?
Yeah, I think that when our students go and work, and not just work locally, some of our students go internationally and work. And I'm always in touch with my students. I have a huge thousands of students that I network with, and mashallah, they like kind of, when they're working, they let me know what they're doing. And whenever the opportunity comes in and they're in Pakistan, or even let's say nowadays it's much easier because we're all online, I do get them to share their experience and what it was like studying and now actually being in the industry and working. And I think there's some good points, and there are some things that comes into my awareness that, okay, this is something that we didn't do with the students, and this is like the kind of difficulty the student is facing now that he's working. So we need to kind of bring that change into our program. So I think, that really helps. And I think I get a lot of support from the media professionals as well, because I'm connected to a lot of industry professionals. And whenever I have requested them to come in into classrooms as a guest speaker, or give a session, they've been very obliging. And I like to thank them for doing that, because obviously their time is important, but they also have to kind of realize that the students that are studying will become part of them. So they share with these students is really important, because these students are eventually going to go and join them. So it's like a training. So yes, industry experts and students themselves who've gone out and worked in the industry do come back, do share their experiences, and kind of give us new ways of new avenues and ways of looking at things, because sometimes when you're working in academia, you kind of get so closed up, and you need to broaden your horizon, look what's happening. Very recently at Ziauddin University, we kind of wanted to bring in a new specialization, and so be it. We digital marketing, and now look at how fast digital marketing is actually working. I mean, everything, So that was like a trend I was seeing that is going to take over. So we brought that in. So a very futuristic approach is required, especially now with digital, and now with Netflix and all these YouTube channels, and everything is going digitalized. So it's we have to think of the future, because it's a 4-year program. Whatever we start today, how is it going to be relevant after 4 years? That's the challenge for me. Is it relevant? And in between, what kind of changes do I need to make in the program so that when the student graduates, he's ready he's ready to penetrate into the industry without being outdated, you know. So that's one of the challenges that I'm always like making sure that I try to be on top of things, so for my own awareness and so the students can benefit from this.
And again, I'm just going to revert back to the idea of having a platform to, for the students to sort of show their work, exhibit their talent. They've obviously spent 4 years studying all of that and honing their craft. And even though that doesn't stop, is there an awareness now of of film festivals, not just that are happening in Pakistan, but globally, and avenues to reach them? Is that something that the students are aware of? Is this something that they aspire to? Is that do they understand the significance of reaching out to other filmmakers and growing that network within film festivals?
Yeah, I think that's something that we do kind of guide them when they're studying. That's something that's like our responsibility, to make sure that they are aware that these platforms do exist. And I think the trend is growing more and more now. I mean, initially we used to have these festivals internally, within the university, or let's say inter-university. And then a couple of students like ventured out and they actually won something. And that's when the box kind of opened up and they said, oh, wow, there's a whole world out there that wants to watch our movies, it's not just Pakistan. And that kind of gave them the courage to kind of put their work out there. And since then, I think that this chain has been growing. And I've seen so many students kind of, wanting to put their work out there. And as you know, there are like hundreds of festivals happening every year. There are so many now that it's difficult to keep track of how many are happening. So I remember once I made one of my interns take down a whole list of all the festivals that happen throughout the world in 1 year. I mean, she took down the whole list, and then I circulated it in the students. I said, there you go. These are the festivals that are happening. These are the dates. Now put your movies in. Even if you don't win anything, your work is going to get seen by at least one person, if not 100 people. And that is important, because even if one person sees your work, I think there's something there. So, I think that was like a little exercise that I did. I discontinued that, unfortunately. And now that I'm thinking of it, I probably need to do it again. But just like Gandhara, I think this is a great initiative by you guys. You're doing a festival, you're getting movies from all over the world. So I think I'm really excited to see the content. I want to see what students outside are doing, because rarely you get to see content from other students. I'm always seeing content from the subcontinent. So I want to see what students in Europe are doing. I want to see what students in Africa are doing. I want to see all that. So I think it's really exciting, and I think it's a really good platform for students, because like I said, film is it can be personal, but film is like for a bigger audience. I mean, you can watch a film and feel good about it. I made a film, but even if like 10 people see your film, I think that's really exciting. That's really exciting. Yeah, I think that's the biggest like take home for making a film. It's the audience. So if the audience appreciates your film, I think you've done your job. And of course, these are students; they're still learning. So we can't expect them to do fantastic things, but I think that in whatever limited resources that they have, the limited kind of budgets they have, I think that they do a great job. I am very pleased with some of the students that have come up with some brilliant movies in Pakistan.
Yeah, it's surprising, because I've it's one can only feel hopeful, after seeing some of the stories that have come out from Pakistan. Because I know how limited those resources are, and the effort that goes into making those films. But the product that comes out is definitely something that you can be proud of. Now you're not going to get a 100% strike rate, but it really is a game of numbers. And there are some films that I've sat back and said, wow, that's really is something. But nonetheless, it is it's a very difficult sort of it's a very difficult life to embrace, as a filmmaker. And I coming back to the fact that a lot of students, they don't know that, they don't know how, especially coming in, and I don't think their parents know that either. And I feel that's why a lot of the parents, a lot of the students, they don't give it that sort of, I wouldn't use the word respect, but they don't give it that sort of importance coming in. I think that changes over the 4 years, especially with the hands-on approach that the universities provide, because they know it's very tough physically and mentally, because you've got to use both faculties, but hopefully, Gandhara and the other festivals that are out there will, be a showcase for those students, so that the transition for them is a lot easier, and hopefully they'll keep telling their stories. But I just wanted to say thank you for coming today and talking to us, and hopefully through you, the students at Ziauddin are going to be well aware of not just our festival, but the festivals abroad, and they know that there are people who are rooting for their talent, and they just have to keep telling their stories, and one day they're going to be at that place where they'll be helping other students as well. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And good luck with everything that's going to happen in the future.
Thank you so much, Vivian. Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And guys, that was Tehmina Lodhi. She was talking to us about, not just the education of the media sciences and film in Pakistan, but the challenges and the ways to improve them as well. I'm really grateful that she could come on board and talk to GIFF today. And I'm hoping for great things from the students, because we have teachers who are committed, who are looking to build a talent pool, and hopefully good things will happen for filmmaking in Pakistan and storytelling in Pakistan. So stay tuned, support film festivals, and watch as many movies as you can, and create and tell stories that move you, and hopefully will move the rest of the world. Take care. Bye-bye.